Okay, good morning, year 11. What we're going to do today is we're looking at types of incomes. Now, in case you've missed the previous exercise 301, we were doing wages and salaries. So I'm just going to quickly recap what they are. So a wage is typically you are paid a rate. That is, you are paid per hour. You figure that out with your employer, you agree with your employer. Let's just say you're getting paid $16 an hour. You work so many hours, you get your 16, you times it by how many hours you worked. That is your wage for that week. Typically, you are figuring this out every 2 weeks, or you're paid every 2 weeks, but you're paid per hour, how many hours you do labor. A salary doesn't really account for labor. It's more a contract, and it usually goes for a year. So, for instance, teachers are usually contracted for a year to work at a school. And so that is a salary. They agree to a certain amount, so many thousands of dollars throughout the year, and they get paid every 2 weeks, so 26 times a year. And that's typically how a salary works. So for a full year, you get paid a certain thousands of dollars. Now, the ones we're looking at today: commission, piecework and royalties, and retainer. Let's start with commission. Now, commission, you've probably heard of, is a percentage of a sale. So let's just say you're working at JB Hi-Fi and you are paid on commission. This means if you sell a lot of things, you'll get a bigger income. So let's just say you sell $10,000 worth of equipment at JB Hi-Fi, and you are going to get 3% of that. Now, if we times that by 0.03, that would be 300, I believe. Let's just check that out. 10,000 times 0.03. Yep, $300. So you'd walk away with $300. So you sold $10,000 worth of equipment. You get a percentage of that, 3%. Therefore, you get paid an extra $300. Now, if I'm going to skip down, I'm going to skip these two for a moment and go down to a retainer. Now, what this is, a retainer is a fixed amount regardless of how many units are sold. So the way to think about this is these two kind of link, commission and retainer. A retainer is, let's just say you work at JB Hi-Fi and you have a really bad week. You don't sell anything. They will still give you something. Let's say they give you $200 and they say it's been a really slow week, you didn't sell anything, here's your $200, but you don't get any more because you didn't sell anything. If you get your retainer plus your commission, you can get more. So commission is incentive to sell more, to be a really good salesman, to sell more expensive units and more units so you can get a better paycheck. So it works out better for you and your retailer or your employer who you're selling to. Piecework. Now, paid per unit produced. This is a little less common, but typically it's manufacturing or farming. Let's say for the summer you go to Queensland and you pick fruit or strawberries or something. Typically you'll get paid by how many buckets of fruit you pick, and that's how it works. Typically this is used a lot in Christmas for production with, I don't know, gingerbread houses or something I've heard. But this is a little less common, a little bit more seasonal work. Royalties. The number, hashtag in case you don't know what it means number of copies sold. So if you're a musician and you sell so many albums, you'll get paid so much per album. Those are all our definitions. You've probably heard these in passing, and people use them in language, but you don't know exactly how to piece them all together, and I hope that is a little bit helpful. A retainer is probably the less common one. So let's get into some examples. So these are from your textbook. Josh is paid 73 cents for each t-shirt folded. He folds 1,440 shirts. How many does he earn? Well, that's easy. Let's go 73 cents, that is, times 1,440. Do that on our calculator. So 73 times 1,440, that equals, 105,120. Now, the problem with this is still in cents. So to convert into dollars, we need to divide by 100 because there's 100 cents in a dollar. So let's get that amount and say what we're doing with that. 105,120 divided by 100 gives us $1,051.02. Okay, so if we're rounding this to an actual money amount, that is going to be $1,051.20, not 2 cents. So draw that in. That's actually a right sentence. Therefore, Josh earns 1051.20. Okay? That's not that hard. That's really quite easy, that piecework. Okay, let's move on to something a little more challenging. This has a two-part section. I've written part A here. Ali earns a retainer of $415 per week plus a commission of 8.5% on mops sold. To the nearest cent, how much does Ali earn after selling 1,595 of mops in 1 week? Okay, so there is two incomes here. There is the commission, which is 8.5% of sales, and the retainer, which is $415. So she is guaranteed this amount every week. So therefore, we're doing 1 week, therefore we have to plus this amount at the end. So let's figure out how much she makes on commission, 8.5% of this, and then we'll plus our $415. So let's figure out our commission first. So that's going to be 1,595 times, converting this to a decimal, we're moving the decimal place 2 spots, 0.085, and that gives us 1595 times 0.085. Okay, 135.575. Okay, and we'll deal with that a little bit later. We have 3 decimal places, so it's $135.57.5. We're going to have to round that up to 58 cents, but we'll leave it for just this moment. Now, let's do our commission plus our retainer. So that is going to be the amount we just had, plus our 415. So let's leave that in amount, 415, leave that in, bang. We end up with 550, 575. Okay. So we end up with $550.57.5. Now we need to round that up if we're rounding decimals because it has to be to 2 decimal places. So because that is 5 and anything above 5 and up rounds up, that becomes 58 cents. So Ali earns 550.58 cents in that week. Let's keep it short. Cool. Okay, this one is a little bit more harder, and students tend to struggle with this a little bit more. If Ali earned $700 in a week, what was the value of the mops he sold in that week? Okay, so what we got to do is, because she earns a retainer of $415 a week, yep, we have to minus it from that amount. Whatever's left over is how much she, 8.5% of what she sold. So let's start with this. Let's remove the retainer. So 700 minus 415. 700 minus 415. That gives us 285. Okay, so that 285 is 8.5% of how much she got. So we need to multiply that. Okay, how are we going to do this? We need 285. This represents 8.5%. So if we divide this by 8.5, let's just try this out. 285 divide 8.5, and then times by 100. Does that work? I'm not entirely sure. I think so. Let's just double check. Yeah, this works. Okay. So what we want to do is, hang on, let's do 285 divided by Yeah, that looks a little bit more promising. So, we need to get the amount, and if we divide that by 8.5% as a decimal, 0.085, that's going to give us our amount, which is 3,352.94. Now we have to round it there to 2 dp. It's not exactly mathematically accurate, but that's okay. Usually we'd have ... and then we'd have our 2 dp, but we're just going to include our 2 dp just here. Don't tell anyone. So she earns that much. So she sold that much worth of value. Okay? So Ali sold 3,352.94 cents to earn $700. Okay, and the last one, royalties. An author earns 13% in royalties on the sale of her novels if she sells 34,700 books for $32.95 each. How much will she receive? Okay. What we want to do is, if she sells this many books for that amount, we want to times these two to figure out the total amount of what they sold for, and then find 13% of that. So we actually can put this in our calculator in one big go. 34,700 times 32.95, that will tell us the total amount. If we want to find 13% of that, we can just times that by 0.13. If we put all this into our calculator, 3,4,700 times 32.95 times 0.13, she gets, is that correct? That seems pretty high. Gets a lot of money. Good for her. Okay. Well, that's accurate. She gets... I'm just going to write it underneath because I'm running out of room. She makes... always write a sentence. 148,637.45 cents. Based on that. I hope this has been helpful, guys, and make sure you do all the questions in the activities. Okay, have fun with that.